One. Hey guys, welcome back to the Cerebral Palsy and Fitness Podcast. I'm here with Brad Williams. He's a fitness trainer, has his own podcast, and he's here to talk to us today about various fitness hacks for those over 40. Welcome, Brad.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David, for having me on the show.
Thank you for being on, brother. So to begin this podcast, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Yeah. Kind of born and raised in Central California. Dad was a medical doctor. Mom was a nurse. So I always kind of had that healthy, family upbringing, which I was kind of lucky. Always into sports and, throughout life and going into high school and college, I always knew I wanted to, work for myself and be an entrepreneur. And I always looked up to my uncle. So lo and behold, after I graduated with a business major, several different jobs, my brother and I decided, hey, I'm really into fitness and sports. I had already gotten my certifications. Let's open up our own gym. And, that was 14 years ago at this point. And just, over the years, just being an entrepreneur, the ups and downs and, doing the brick and mortar game here in California has just, been tough. And then Orange County also being tough because it's kind of the mecca of health and fitness. And there's so much competition, which I assume Florida is also kind of a little mecca in, any big city. And just all the things I've learned over the years and helping the over 40 crowd was always kind of my niche. And then, post COVID, we all kind of got shoved into online training in the online world, which is great. Just got a lateral and go with it. And thus I started my podcast, Over 40 Fitness Hacks. And, been doing that for 3 years.
Awesome. And then for you, being in that space, did you have a difficult time transitioning from being in person face to face to going online virtual with your training?
I think for me, not too much. I'm pretty tech savvy and also, really, how do you say, not outgoing. So it wasn't that hard not to have the person in front of me. I do very well across the camera, and we were all used to Zoom at that point. A little harder to train, obviously, because you can only do so much with the camera and watching their form, but it is doable. But just the ability to scale and go across the U.S., across the world. There's just so many people that
Right.
I know I can't help everybody, and not everyone is suited for me, just like any other trainer in their niche and any other business. But it's just a way for more people that fit you perfectly can find you in this type of world. So it's just been very fruitful and fulfilling, doing everything online. And I still like, going to the gym and having, my local clients too.
Right. It's always, like you said, it's always best to have the best of both worlds. If you can even, if you can train someone face to face and help them more that way and to really grow, then great. But if online works for them, then that's also good as well. And
Yeah.
then another question I had is why just individuals over 40? Is there a preference why? Is it easier for you? Are you more specifically trained to help those over 40?
Yeah. Kind of my certifications were just kind of more basic towards weight loss and body toning. I was never into the athletics and going that route or the bodybuilding, or even powerlifting or anything like that. So that's kind of where I sat. And then just, I think because of my area, the people that could afford, personal training in our local Orange County area here typically are their kids are off a little bit, maybe in high school, and they're self-sustaining
Right.
and they could start working on themselves. So there's just the type of clients I started getting and just, got used to training them and seeing what their issues were and problems and what their goals were. And so basically just, that's what I came in line with over the last 14 years. And then, hitting 40 myself, like I was telling you before we started this recording, and just seeing even a personal trainer over 40. Oh my God, is it
Right.
not fair? The aging process is not fair. It's harder to keep that weight off. You're slowing down because, you got a family, kids, maybe your pets, you just got more responsibilities, and it's harder. You just move less. It's just part of the aging process. And my whole mindset of being a personal trainer is I refuse to quit. And all those that look up to me and are, expecting me to stay in the game and knowing what are the best things, that's kind of what I do. And so I kind of coined the phrase fitness hacks, of little things that have worked for me. And it may not work for everybody, but, you may get something out of it.
So speaking about fitness hacks and everything you've done before, are your experiences that you've encountered before the reason behind your motivation and inspiration behind the podcast itself that you've began?
Yeah, and that's like I said, I'm 42 now, and when I started the podcast, I think I was 39, and seeing all these issues happening to myself, of being able to harder to hold lean muscle mass on, I'm getting slower, more aches and pains, harder to lose weight, and having to adjust, my training style, my nutrition, outside sources you're doing, and just philosophies on what's more important, trying to aesthetically look good and being that bodybuilder type, or then I had a back injury 5 years ago that I've had a couple surgeries because of it, and rehab through it and everything. And now just my mindset of just taking things slower, more quality over quantity, and just knowing that nothing's a race. You have tons and tons of times. The body is very resilient, but it needs to rest and have its breaks. So I've learned all those things, I think just over the last 5 years more than anything.
Right, quality over quantity. I learned that lesson the hard way a few years ago. I was in the gym, doing rows, and I was doing a lot. I was doing heavy weight, but a lot of reps as well. And I went for to do another one, and I was halfway through doing it, and all of a sudden I felt like my back like go out. And then I look at my buddy and I'm like, I'm trying to call him over, but I'm hunched like this. So I'm like, dude, my back is out. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I can't move.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
then he had to help me to the car and help me back on. And I missed about a week of work. And then I had somebody at the gym tell me, always remember this, quality over quantity. So then I started doing my workouts to where I was doing less weight but more reps because I realized even if you have less weight and more reps, you're still going to get the same result. It's going to take you a bit longer and you're doing it
yeah,
safer.
exactly. And it doesn't take much to stress your body's systems and your hormonal response to, if you're looking to build more lean muscle. It's just, you stress the muscle, it's a hormonal response through your body to build more lean muscle. And it doesn't take super heavy weight or tons of reps to do it. If you're doing it smart, I like to preach, the philosophy of it's called time under tension now. It used to be called like slow motion training or even doing negatives. Try adding that into your routine a little bit where, doing a simple body squat, you take, instead of just repping out 20 squats or 10 super ultra heavy squats, you use lightweight or just your body weight. Take 5 to 10 seconds to get down as low as you can. That's safe. And then 5 to 10 seconds coming up. And you'll learn that you can only do like 6 to 8 reps and you are wiped out. And if it's easy, you just start adding a little bit of weight, but it'll be a fraction of what you think you would use normally if you were trying to go as fast as you can. But not only that, but being mindful of your back, your glutes being activated, pull in your adductors by kind of focusing on your knees and pulling them in and flexing everything. Makes it a more quality workout. You recruit more muscle fibers. You'll get that better hormonal response. And then after that, it's just, diet. Are you getting enough protein to build that muscle back up? And there you go. You just raised your lean muscle mass.
It's almost like math, if it seems easy, you're probably doing it wrong. You're probably doing it wrong.
Exactly. Just put a little more thought into it and slow it down. That's it. And, you'd be all right.
Yeah, because I've seen people do these like ridiculous equation real fast and they get done. And then also that one little simple mistake, and you're like, man, I thought I had this right the entire time, and you wrote this whole like equation on the board, and you're like, I should have put more thought into it. I should have, gone slower, you
Yeah.
know?
And, for like some of my clients, like it's a common theme of, I didn't feel sore the next day, or, I wasn't sweating enough. Like that's not how this works in weight training. It's, all we're looking is for the hormonal response of, putting tension on that muscle to the point where it's stressing enough to get that response, a little bit of tear down. And then with diet and nutrition, you build it back up. In their mind, they think boot camp, I got to sweat buckets, I got to tear every muscle fiber known to man, to get this response. And you don't need that.
Yeah, if you're thinking that, you might as well think of The Rock, because I've seen his workouts online, and he like he goes all out. Like he's
Yeah.
just you look at people look at him and they're like, I want to be like him, where he's like sweating buckets, but he's the size of a gorilla. He's huge.
Yeah. And then how do you think he got like that too? That's the
Yeah,
other part.
yeah. People are always saying things, but that's like a whole other conversation in
Yeah.
itself.
And that's the thing is, don't compare yourself to others. Just, be the best you can be. And I promise you, with, just working on your overall health, not just, I want my muscles bigger. I want to be able to lift as much weight. You know, Part of it too is how's your mindset? How's your sleep? How's your body feeling? With the over 40 crowd, it's so much more important, not to have any kind of injury or feeling of discomfort, the next day. And if you can accomplish all three of those things, it's a good day. And then you just keep having more and more and more of them. And the fitness part and the aesthetics will just, if that's what's important to you, that'll just come naturally, just, being healthier and working that system like that.
Right. I mean, it's all about just seeking out the right person, knowing your limitations, and then working on those limitations as efficient as you can.
Exactly.
And then as far as your clients, like what's the most requested thing by your clients when they first meet you? What are they most looking for?
A lot of them are, I mean, almost all of them are, everyone's just trying to lose weight or get toned. And then, a lot of females are looking to, build the glutes up a little bit more. You know, with that, it's, well, we can kind of focus a little bit on what you want, for guys to be bigger arms or chest, whatever it will be. Um, but there's a part of that as a personal trainer, a good personal trainer, we need to umbrella it with a philosophy of, functional training matters most. How are your ankle muscles, muscles around the knees, your elbows, all those matter too, and how your body moves laterally and in rotation. Are you balanced? That's kind of the philosophy umbrella that, okay, those have to be um, dealt with first before we can proceed of building, heavier lean muscle and more power. And if you want to focus on one body part, I get it, but we can only do it to a certain point where it doesn't offset other muscles in that process.
Right. Right. It's like when people do a lot of arms and chest and during their workout, and then they pose in the mirror and you see this how do you this uneven proportion of your body where your body's huge on the top, but at the bottom you have like stick legs or chicken legs is what they call it.
Yep.
And and some professional athletes, it's you see it in them too. Like I've seen like professional athletes that are built, but then you look at their legs and you're like the most of your power comes from your legs. They don't realize that.
Yeah. Well, good athletes do. And, as far as like sprinters and running backs or cyclists, they have to be, very strong, big legs with good endurance, but it doesn't really help them to work on the upper body per their sport because that's just going to increase weight, which is not good. In the sporting world, that's completely different. There's whole different other philosophies of how to get that athlete to the next level. I just kind of stay away from that and refer that out. I kind of more stay in line with my, 40-year-olds.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just
Yeah.
you have to you have to realize that once you get up there in age, it's more about taking care of yourself and maintaining,
Yeah.
I mean, sure, there's been people that have become athletes at the age of like close to 40. Like I could name an example, a DDP. He didn't become a professional wrestler until he was 35.
Yeah.
And now he does DDP yoga, which is well known around the world.
Yeah. Or just look how many like cyclists, athletes, and long distance runners that are in their 40s, 50s, some are in their 60s, just crushing it. And they didn't start out their life like being very passionate about that. And that's the great part is you can, anytime in your life, you can kind of change your perspective and what your passions are. And it's not too late to do anything. Just
Exactly.
can't get
That's
injured. That's the main thing.
yeah, injuries. I've been I'm notorious for injuries, but it's due to my disability. So I've learned how to kind of slow down and not be so hard on my body because I used to be an athlete myself, early
Hmm.
on in my life. I was a cyclist, a baseball player, and a football player. And over the years, as I as I've been training, I've learned how to maintain, that healthy balance between being active and also resting. Not just it's not going 1,000 miles an hour every day. It's just
Yeah,
take a day to just do something light, but don't go overboard and let your
yeah,
body just heal.
yeah. And then unless you're getting paid millions of dollars to compete at that high level, or if it really is your passion, that's okay too. But if it's
Yeah,
not, it's okay to keep doing it. Just tone it down a little bit. Save
exactly.
yourself some heartache and some injuries.
Exactly. 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 It's the best part is just remember it's just if you're not an athlete, take it easy. If you are and you're passionate about it, just keep on going. Like you said it yourself. Correct.
Yeah.
So is a book for you in the works? Are you planning on writing your own book
I
based off
think
this?
just over the last 14 years of everything I've done, like I feel like I should. So, my thing is I'm not the greatest writer, but now with like programs like Chat GPT, I don't know if you played with that a little bit. I'm like,
I've
oh
never
my
had
God, it can put all my thoughts on there and write it out like I was, a journalist. Can't believe
really.
it. It's insane.
I
And
have
it
to
is
I have to check
my
it out.
thoughts and I organize it the way I want to. I just can't write, at that level. So yeah, everyone should check that out. This is like
Uh
the
I have to
next
check
thing
it
coming
out.
out.
So is it just like a voice software where it'll write for you?
No, it's you type it in and you just put something about time under tension, everything we just talked about, and then literally you just need to give it like 4 sentences and it'll write you out like 8 paragraphs or more. And you can just keep elaborating and
No
asking
way.
it to fix this, fix that, or I also want to add in this, elaborate on this topic, and boom, it keeps pumping stuff out. And sometimes I don't agree with it, so I'll go in and delete it out. But it's how fast and what you can produce out of this, this is just going to take what everyone's doing with social media, with writing books to the next level where you don't really have to hire out to do all this stuff. So but yeah, no,
That is
that's
really cool.
yeah, besides just getting some ebooks out of everything, eventually I want to write a book so that I just everyone should get their message out because it'll resonate with somebody.
Exactly. Getting your message out. This is most important.
Yeah. you
So
know
for
oh
oh go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I was listening to one of your other episodes where you kind of touched on fasting a little bit, and that's a huge one of my hacks that I've discovered for being over 40. That just a simple concept like intermittent fasting. You always got to check with your medical professional if it will work for you, but basically, you don't really have to change someone's diet at all.
Right.
You're just you're just putting the system in place where you're crunching your eating window into shorter periods and giving your body longer fasting hours to digest it, refresh your body, detox out. And just from seeing the benefits, and not only on my blood work but also my energy levels, my mind, and then seeing some weight loss out of it, it's just so huge and so easy just to at least start with a client on that. So I'm real big into that. I know you were dabbling in it.
Yeah, yes, I still am with it. Like I go about 12 hours, 13 hours every day usually.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll start eating. And I just went to my doctor just like 2 days ago and he said everything came out good. And I've never really gained or lost weight. So I've always been at around 112, 113. So I've always been there even if I'm fit
Yeah.
and healthy.
Well, that's the thing. If you're pretty lean already, then it's not going to show much more than just how do you feel? Do you feel good? And then it's probably more in your blood work you'd see any changes and benefit from. They call it autophagy. The body being able to clear itself out and unclog those arteries because you're not throwing food and junk back in there. So
Right. It makes you feel good too, because you're more alert, and you're not consistently trying to eat all the time.
Yeah. And then I started dabbling with kind of longer fasting. And, also don't just jump into a 36-hour fast out of nowhere. It's something you got to build up to, and only if it feels good for you. But it definitely did for me. And going, fasting for 12 hours and 24, then 36, and really seeing how that autophagy, like we were just talking about, really play a part. I know I did when I first started that. I did my blood work with my doctor, and then 4 months later checked it, and I was doing it like every other week, and seeing my cholesterol, which was not bad, it's pretty good, and all my other markers were great, but just more specifically, seeing that cholesterol drop by 20% in 4 months. My doctor's never seen anything like it, and I attribute it all to that longer fasting, because that's the only change I made in my eating style. And so, now I kind of practice it once every month and a half, just to kind of keep the practice, because it is a thing that if you don't keep practicing it, it will get harder the next time you try to do it if it's too far out there.
Yes, it is hard if you don't maintain it.
Yeah. But yeah, just, all the stuff I talk on my podcast is just, all the things I've tried. Some I don't like, some stuff I have liked, and here's the benefits, pros and cons. And then, it's just more of a education for everyone else that ever thought, of trying something new. That's why I try all these hacks and diets and tips, just, first to help my audience sift through what's out there, and, just do one thing at a time and see if you can add to your routine. And my whole philosophy on training and health and wellness is just, doing everything slow, building healthy habits very slow, one step at a time. Try something new for 30, 60 days, make your decision, then try something new. The worst and best for me in my industry is the New Year's resolution crowd, where it is good for business. So I don't want to hate on it too
Right.
much. And it is giving people motivation, but it's the worst mindset to have, to come in, oh, New Year, I'm going to get everything I got. Give me the diet, give me the craziest workouts, give me
Right.
the, like, no, 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 no. You're going to quit in less than 30 days. That's not how we do it here.
I mean, you can see it in the I hate to say it, but you can see it in the actual gyms, like the first few days of the new year. It's packed, and within like 3 weeks,
They have
everybody's gone.
there's a funny term for it too on social media, of the people who quit even before February 1st, and they're taking pictures of how desolate the gyms are. After that, they show January 1st, and then 1 week shy of February 1st, and they coined it some weird term, and I thought it was hilarious, but I just can't remember it right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, sure, there's people that take it seriously, but then there's those that think, oh, it's gonna happen, and then take they do the treadmill or the weights for a few weeks, and like, man, I'm always sore, and I hate this, and I don't want to do this anymore, and then they quit.
Yeah. But, going back to here in Orange County, how competitive it's been to run a brick and mortar thing and all that. Is where it was kind of terrible, being the business owner and trying to compete against all these people. On the bottom level, though, it's I love seeing that, because it's just the culture is growing. You didn't see this like 20 years ago, and now they're popping up on every corner. It's just showing you that people are caring, because there's a need, and you're seeing more stuff online, more on social media. There's more online coaches, more programs, and more gyms they're just going everywhere. And I love seeing that, because how we see the American diet, nutrition, and what everyone's doing, we don't look so good compared to the other countries. So I'm loving that this culture is growing, and that's all we can do is just keep spreading awareness. And when people are finally willing to listen, there's just so much out there. Go find something.
Exactly. If you're willing to listen, things will happen.
Yes, sir.
So where can my listeners find your podcast? Where can they listen to it?
Yeah, so it's called Over 40 Fitness Hacks, and it's 40, not spelled out. And Spotify, iTunes, or your favorite podcast player. It should be on all of them. I'm on like 17 different podcast players. And then my website is over40fitnesshacks.com, also 40, not spelled out. And that's where I have my blogs and any information about me, and also the best way to contact me as well.
Awesome, awesome. It's been a pleasure getting to know a lot of your story, and how you've helped people who are over 40, and helped me in a sense as well. So thank you for being on, Brad.
Absolutely. Thanks you so much, David, for having me on the show.
And you guys, if you want to listen to this podcast, you can go to YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and every other major podcasting outlet out there. And until next time, have a great one.
See you guys.